Welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, created and hosted by Scott Knudsen, where we examine the crossroads between the Western lifestyle and business. Now here's your host, Scott Knudsen.
Hi, and welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen, today with a great show. I can't wait for you to meet Jay. We met in Fort Worth not too long ago at a big event, and that you were a big part of at the Cowboy Channel.
Yes, sir.
And Jay Holcomb is on the show, and he is an entrepreneur. He's a cowboy, a rancher, owner of 6ix9ine Events, and he's a military veteran, joined the Army at 17 years old. So please like this show, share the show with others, and hang on. It's going to be a good show today. Jay, thanks for being on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's fun to be.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. So where are you coming from today?
I am in New Harmony, Utah. I'm actually just right outside. I wish you could see through these windows, but the whitewash. But I'm right outside of Zion's National Park, the north entrance, Kolob Canyons. So it's beautiful.
Very cool. Very cool. So were you born there, grew up in Utah, or was there somewhere?
No, sir. I grew up in just south of Fort Worth. I grew up in a little town called Grandview, between Grandview and Alvarado. I went to school in Alvarado from kindergarten to 9th grade and went to Grandview from 10th to and graduated from Grandview High School, the Zebras.
Hey, there you Zebras. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So growing up in Texas, man, so did you just want to be a rancher, or what kind of led you, or an entrepreneur? Was that kind of in your DNA?
You know, realistically, I grew up with very humble beginnings. My dad shoot horses, and then he also hauled live cattle and worked for TXI just out of Midlothian for a while and stuff. And so, just always kind of pushing and struggling just a little bit, grew up, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to do something big in this world, and didn't know what to do. Coming out of school, out of high school, my brother, his name is Jeff. He went into the military, done really, really well. Done a lot of things. In fact, he was one of the Delta guys in Black Hawk Down, but has done a lot of really cool things. And I thought, you know what, that's what I want to do. And so I went into the Army and served 4 years active and another 8 years in reserves. So,
wow. Well, Jay, thanks for your service first off. But at 17 years old, man, you sign up and you go, man. What was that like?
You know what? I just wanted to get out, to be very honest with you. I just wanted to go. I had a point to prove, and I just wanted to move. And so, those are the things, growing up, we lived so far out of town, and I wanted to do more. I was actually, I'll give you the uphill both ways in the snow story real quick, but
absolutely.
We lived in Grandview. We were about 14 miles outside of town, and I was actually born without hip joints. And so I was in a body cast for the first 3 years of my life. And the doctors told my parents that I would never be able to play football until after I was 16 because my hips didn't join in. And so it's kind of funny. My dad wouldn't let me play football, but he put me on the roughest broncs he could find. And so I never understood the thinking behind that. But nevertheless, when I turned 17, I wanted to play football, but we lived 13 miles outside of town and we were so poor. I had a bike with no chain, believe it or not. So I literally pushed my leg and I rode the bike 14 miles into town with no chain and 14 miles back 2 times a day for 2 days, just so that I could play football my senior year. So, yeah. And then as soon as I graduated, I went into the Army. My brother had been in the Army and had done very well. And for me, not having the opportunity to go to college and, I was going to use the GI Bill to go to college and to further my education with the military. And so it was a good, outlet for me to be able to do it.
Well, it's a great story. I'm sorry you had to go through it, but just that part alone, riding the bike with no chain and then going to practice, that you think doing that at 16, 17 years old kind of helps you become a better entrepreneur where you see things through and there's not an obstacle you can't really overcome.
Absolutely. And it's, I have 6 boys and 1 daughter. I have 7 children. And so, and I would never want to steer them away from being in the military, because the military, realistically, those adversity, iron sharpens iron. It's a biblical principle. And so, that crucible fire where you get really, really hot and all the impurities come to the top, you scrape them off the top and now you have some pureness. So I have never backed down from struggles, because struggles are just going to make me stronger. That doesn't kill me makes me stronger. So, and I learned that early on in life. And I just, if that's what I wanted to do and I wanted to play football, then I'm going to ride a bike 14 miles into town twice a day with no chain. I mean, it is what it is. And so, but going into the military too, and being a war veteran and being in Iraq and, doing a lot of the things that I've done, you don't get to stop. The war doesn't stop because you don't feel good. The people around you that are getting shot or blown up, they're not going to get better just because you're scared so you have to put a lot of things in those adversities into the back of your mind and realistically just push forward, because that's what it takes.
Wow. And you were in Desert Storm, correct? And that's
Yes,
whatever. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Golly. Well, I love that grit, and I think you have to have that in the Western industry, but as a business person as well. And what's someone that's watching maybe today in the Cowboy Entrepreneur, family, what's some advice you can give them when they're 16, 17? Because we have all age groups, just to start, because that's usually the biggest hurdle, is starting.
And honestly, you're absolutely right. And I learned early on, Henry Ford said it best: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're exactly right. And for me, I just wanted to go. I wanted to prove the world that I was more than what, people saw me as. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's where I wanted to go. I would just say to the people that are just starting out, if you can dream it and you can believe it, it's achievable. And, I've had the privilege of working with some very wealthy people. One of the ones, Larry Van Tile, who is a multi-billionaire, probably one of the largest property holders on the West Coast, and multi-billionaire, and he always told me, he said, Jay, think big, be big. If you want to be big, you got to think big. And he always told me, we're not in the car business, Jay, because I worked for him in the car business. I ran Vandergrift Chevrolet in Arlington, Texas for quite a few years. And he would always tell me, he said, Jay, it's not finding dealerships, it's not finding businesses to run, it's finding people that believe in it. He goes, we're not in the car business, we're in the people business. And and it just always sunk to me in my heart. And because that's truly what it is. It's about the relationships that we have around us. But going back to your question, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, it's great, man. This is awesome.
But it really is just believing in yourself, believing in the power of your ideas. And if you want to do it, it's achievable. We live, Scott, we only get one shot at this rock that we call Earth. And, we give one opportunity, and we're very blessed. I mean, if we actually knew the possibility of us being here, it would really blow our mind of how much it really took to get us here. And it's a blessing for us to be here on Earth. And why are we wasting it? I want to take every opportunity. One of the things that I always tell the guys in my leadership classes that I do is, when I lay on my deathbed, I don't want to be looking across my toes thinking I wished I would have. I want to be looking across my toes on my deathbed saying, my God, I'm sure glad I did. Whether that's I loved the way that I loved, I worked the way that I worked, I accomplished the way that I accomplished, whatever it was that I did, I want to be able to, at the end of my life, say, my God, I'm so glad that I did.
So good, man. I love the visual too. Just looking over your toes, you don't want that regret of not trying or holding something back, man. You want to go completely exhausted, I
always say, when I die, I want to have a closed casket, because I want people to go, ooh, good Lord, he's spent.
Tongue's still hanging out, man. Just running 100.
Oh, he used it all.
Oh, every bit. Man, I love that. So let's talk about your leadership classes. Where do you teach those, and how can people, if they want to take a class, how can they become a part of it?
You know what? I do it mostly internally. I have about 213 employees that work for me there at the 3 dealerships that I run. And then of course we have the ranch, and then we have the events, the Skyline Events Company. But overall, realistically, the dealerships are my mainstay. And what I do every Friday morning, I get my whole leadership team, all of my service managers, my parts managers, my general sales managers, my sales managers, my assistant sales managers, everybody together in one room. And we go through a lot of stuff. We've done a lot of different things. I facilitated 21 irrefutable laws of leadership several times. I've done Colin Powell's, 17 laws of leadership. We go through a lot of different things. I always look for new things. There was a gentleman out of Wichita Falls, Texas, Dave Anderson, and he has a website called learntolead.com. And, unfortunately, Dave, I love you, but sometimes I plagiarize his stuff. I always give him credit.
Love.
Well, good dude, really, really good guy. He lives in California now, but he grew up in Wichita Falls, Texas. And I kind of love it because my daddy was born in Wichita Falls and my grandpa's parents are buried there in Wichita Falls. So
Wow.
they're in Henrietta are good places for me. But
That's so cool. That's
yeah,
so cool. And we're so blessed to live at the time we live now because those tools are out there and they're accessible, and then have people like you that filter it out to get it to more people.
yeah.
Um,
Early on, I wanted to do more, and I knew that, you heard from early on, if you continue to do the same things, I'm Albert Einstein, you continue to do the same things and expect different results. It's a definition of insanity. Or,
yeah.
if you continue, if you want to get more, you can't continue to do the same things you're doing today. And so, early on, I really started digging in and I started reading. And that's something else I would encourage young people to do
Big.
is dig
Right.
in and start reading. My very first book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and then go with, I could sit here and list a bunch. I'm a book junkie,
Yeah.
but How to Win Friends and Influence People, Learn to Lead. I mean, there's so many different books. Think and Grow Rich is another big one that
Big
I,
one.
started right off the bat. 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, Who've Moved My Cheese. I mean, I could sit here and go on and on and on. But it's not really where you start or what you start with. It's just the act of starting. Just get it going.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. I agree with you 100%, Jay. Reading is everything. And I really, I enjoyed reading, but the last 5, 6, 7 years, I really started reading, everything I could get my hands on. And, I mean, they help. It helps so much.
Absolutely, and it gives you different perspectives. I mean, I
Mhm.
read the book. One of the last ones was the 5 a.m. Club. It really is. It was an eye opener for me, and it's like, how much time am I really wasting?
Yeah, that's so good, man. That's so good. So you said you had 7 kids and your wife and you're a big family and I love that so much. Do they kind of take part in some of the things that you're doing?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. My son Ezekiel, he actually went to Frank Phillips College there in Borger, just north of Amarillo, and he rodeoed up there. And he came back after college, and he actually runs our ranch in Arizona. We run on about 60,000 acres. It's about right at 3,000 acres deeded, and then the state of Arizona lease, and I lease a little bit from Navajo Nation. But we run about 400 head mother cows, commercial Angus with some really good bulls, and he runs all that for us. And then, excuse me, my youngest son, he and they help out. He actually rodeos professionally right now. He's kind of on a hiatus. He broke his arm pretty bad.
Mm.
And so he is kind of taking some time to really kind of heal up, and he's going to get back at it in October. But he helps me with the events company, and all of them actually do. Even my older children come and help me set up arenas and really dig in. And it's an opportunity for me to be able to spend some time, not necessarily to give back, because my goal is to create a legacy for my family so that my kids didn't have to work as hard as mine and my grandkids didn't have to work as hard as them.
Love it.
But they all do pitch in. My daughter lives there in Fort Worth. She's a nurse. She got her bachelor's degree from Texas Tech and then her master's degree out of Colorado. And she runs the nursing department there for Texas Medical. They're out of Fort Worth. So she doesn't have a day-to-day operation because she has a real job. But most of the others do help us.
That's so great, man. You get to work together, and create that legacy, but also
Absolutely.
teaching that work ethic, and how families can work together and stay together.
Absolutely. And it's tough. I mean, especially, just as well as anybody working with
Yeah.
cows, you lose your
Yeah.
religion when that cow goes out the
Quick.
gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the cow goes out the gate. And I
Oh,
mean, it will test your marriage. It will test
yeah.
your bonds with your children. It'll test everything working cattle. And so, but it's really good. I mean, because at the end of the day, when you're hot and you're sweaty and you just got through branding a couple hundred calves, and it's your hands are blistered, that sense of accomplishment and knowing that you did it
Yeah.
together is worth it all. It truly
Yeah.
is.
That is so good. And, that's where we're both so blessed. We get to work with our families,
Yes.
and, I think that's so important in our country, to get to work with your families and show that the family unit is so strong and it's stronger when you work together and accomplish some things.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And, and my family are my best friends. You know, my kids, my wife, they're all my best friends. And why wouldn't you want to hang out with them, with your best friends?
That's
And
so
so,
awesome.
yeah, it really is. I mean, you said it best. It's a true blessing.
Yeah, so awesome. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about ranching in Arizona and why Arizona. We're going to talk about horses and all kinds of other things. So we'll be right back on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show in one quick second here with Jay Holcomb.
Thank you for listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Scott will be right back with more. For more information on Scott Knudsen, the Cowboy Entrepreneur, visit us online at cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today.
This is Positive Times, brought to you by American Hat Company, where true stories of optimism shine bright.
Welcome to Positive Times, proudly sponsored by American Hat Company, where we shine a light on stories of resilience and triumph. Today we're captivated by Jay Holcomb, a man who faced adversity from birth, born without hip joints, but his spirit unbreakable. From biking 14 miles to high school football practice without a chain to serving with valor in Desert Storm. Jay's courage knows no bounds. Now he's a thriving entrepreneur, devoted family man, esteemed veteran. His journey reminds us with unwavering determination, unwavering courage. Every obstacle can be overcome. Jay is a living example of how determination, perseverance can turn a negative into a positive. Thank you, Jay, for sharing your story, and special thank you to American Hat Company.
This has been Positive Times, brought to you by American Hat Company, where true stories of optimism shine bright. Visit AmericanHat.net to discover our finest hats. Positive Times, because every moment deserves a story.
Hi, and welcome back to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen, here with Jay Holcomb. We're talking everything from entrepreneurship to being a cowboy, ranching, Sky9 events, which we're going to talk about in this segment here, and also just ranching in Arizona, man. So Jay, being from Texas, living in Utah, how come Arizona?
Respectfully, I'm going to tell you the respectful way. I bought some property just north of here. I bought a little ranch, and I wanted a bigger ranch. And because of the LDS culture here in Utah, a lot of the pioneer families have all of the big ranches tied up, and there's really not a lot of opportunity for you to either buy in or to be in. And so I was actually looking, believe it or not, on ranchworldads.com and saw this ranch down near Winslow, Arizona. And I called the broker and said, hey, I'd like to come look at it. And she said, sure. We went down there, drove around it about an hour later. And I said, hey, I'll put an offer on it. Called FSA and ended up putting it all together. So realistically, it was just because availability. Just like you had said, ranching is a tough job. And it is, people don't have any clue until you've really been in it for a long time of the blood, sweat, and tears that you have to pour into this. I mean, watching cattle die, no water. I mean, I could go on and on and on about hours about ranching, but the life that you have and the opportunity that you have with your family to do these things, there's no other way out there to do it. So I just, the wholesomeness of it all. So I wanted to do it. And so Arizona was the opportunity. So, and it's about 5 hours from here. So I drive back and forth, a couple times a month.
Oh man, I love it. I love that you took that shot, and it's working out. So let's talk about the cattle. You talked a little bit about it on the first segment. You're running some cows in Arizona. How are you, like, for all the cowboys and cowgirls out there, what are you doing to advertise them, or how can people follow what you're doing?
Well, I have a Facebook account, sky9ranch.com. We haven't done a really good job as far as posting on it. We went out there real quick, got about 8,000 followers fairly quickly, posting some good content. And as you well know, doing what you're doing, content is king. And so for us, we started out, I bought commercial Angus cows. I kind of pieced together a herd from different places. Excuse me. I was very, very fortunate to get in right at the right time, because we'd gone through this. It was basically a 1,200-year drought there through Arizona in the Southwest. And so a lot of these ranchers were droughted out about 3-4 years ago, and just getting off of their cattle. They didn't have any feed. And so I was getting in when they were getting out, and was able to buy quite a few cows, really nice genetics, good cows, fairly cheap, and put together a herd there on the ranch. We're rated for about 440 head on an average. Right now, we're running right at 400. With as much rain as we've gotten over the last couple of years, we could really, especially the ephemeral, we could run in the springtime, run probably closer to 1,000 head. But we're just really trying to take care of the land as we can see it right now. We're doing a lot of improvements with the different wells and putting solar in, and it's 60,000 acres on an Arizona ranch is not that big. I mean, it sounds big, but realistically, there's a lot of ranches around there, a couple 100,000 acres. Some really, really big ranches. And so, but especially just starting out, it's a lot to cover. It's a lot to manage.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love how you're doing some of the new technology, using solar, but then some is just still, in the saddle,
We rope and drag
burying them.
Yeah. We, everything we do is on horseback. My son and the other ranch hands, they're on horsebacks. That's why we're going to talk about the horse program here shortly, but that's why we really got into the American quarter horse and the ranching heritage type breeding, because everything we do is on horseback. The terrain does not lend well to four-wheelers, and I'm not rich enough yet to have helicopters to round up my cattle. So it's all on horseback. And we intentionally, even though I am a data-driven guy and I love technology and I'm big into AI, my brother is actually the CEO of an AI company. I think to keep us grounded, I love doing it the old school way. We don't have a calf table or any of that stuff. We literally rope and drag every single one of our calves. We brand off of a wood burning fire. We do. I mean, if it's windy or something, we'll throw on a generator and brand off of an electric iron. But most of it, we brand off of fire irons. We rope and drag. We do it the old school cowboy way. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love that, man. I was over at my nephew's 2 weeks ago, and we were doing the same thing. They had it laid out perfect with the chuck wagon. It had the food. It's such a great way. We were dragging and branding off, like you say, and some of that is just awesome. But then using the technology and marrying the two it's a fine art of how to do it without losing the character of what you're doing.
Absolutely. We, and not to give too many plugs to everybody, but I don't mind. We use a company called Cattle Max, where we have our own software. Everything comes through our squeeze chute. We have an air equipped squeeze, hydraulic squeeze. So our cattle come through in the fall when we preg check everything. I would like to get to the point where we're doing EID tags, where we have a scanner and I can collect all the data. For me, it's big, especially coming from the car business, where everything for me is data-driven analytics. I do a lot with GA4, which is Google Analytics 4, and, through all my digital marketing and stuff that I do. So it gives me an opportunity in the ranching world to kind of get back to the basics, because I do so much in the automotive industry. But I try to apply it because, again, the data in the ranching world is huge. We look a big ton. We use Gardner bulls out of Kansas, Gardner Angus Ranch, big. You've probably seen them on RFD TV several times. Good people, really good genetics. But, we focus on our EPDs. We look for, our low birth weights. We look for our high, wean weights. We look at milk traits, just because our cattle are out there. There's no shelters for these cows to be in. We've tracked our cows. Our cows are traveling between 8 and 9 miles a day, looking for protein. So our cattle have to be adjusted to the desert. They've got to be able to travel from water. We do supplement with a lot of protein. We use Vitalix as a company, and then also we use loose mineral and salt, obviously. But it's not just I'm not my heart is in Texas, but Texas ranching and Arizona ranching, or even Great Basin ranching up in Nevada, is completely different. It's a different world, and so
Yeah.
different way of doing it. But it's been fun learning it, and you're right, putting all of the data behind the old school ways is, with new technology and the old school ways has really it's been fun. It really has.
Man, I love it, man. You mentioned American Quarter Horse, and I'm part of that association just like you are. And let's talk about your horses, the foundation, where it comes from, and kind of what you're looking for.
I really leaned on two really big ranches. Running You, which is Shamus Haas, and if you ever get a chance, you ought to get Shamus on this program too.
Okay.
An amazing man. I served with him on the Utah High School rodeo board, and just a really good guy. And I've bought some horses from him. He had some really nice play gun. I've got a mare that is a play gun mare that looks just like play gun originally, and just gray and just built just like him, and is absolutely a blessing. She's our best horse as a mare on our ranch. She'll do anything. But and then but I also have because my goal in the with horses is because we are on horses all day long. And I want big lungs, big heart, really hard, dark feet, stuff that can long travel, long trot, cover, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 miles a day on some points, because not only do my guys work on my ranch, they also day work other ranches, JBRS, a lot of these big ranches around Arizona. So you got to have really, really good horsepower. So I used in Shamus's Running You livestock is out of Erda, Utah, which is up near Tooele. And please forgive me if I quoted this wrong, but I think he is the largest remuda of ranching heritage breeding in the United States.
Really?
I think he's got like 250 brood mares up there, and he's got some really, really good ranching heritage studs. So finding those horses that, like I said, have size. I'm 6'4", my son is 6'5", I'm 250. So I always liked the little bit bigger horse just to cover that ground and stuff. And I know that goes against a lot of other people, especially with cutting. I love cutting. I love what we've done with the National Cutting Horse Association. And so, and we do have some highbrow cat type and metallic cat horses that we use for our pin horses and stuff too. But we've really gotten into all this to be said is I've bought probably 8 to 10 horses from the Hash Knife Ranch. The Hash Knife is one of the historical ranch. The Babbitts originally came down in the 1800s. In fact, the ranch that we own was one of the original Babbitt ranches. It was the Hash Knife Ranch. So there's a lot of heritage. In fact, the same round pen that my boys break our horses was built back in the 1800s, and where they live is called Stud Camp. And it was literally the same horses that they were breaking with the same lineage back in the 1800s are the same horses that they're breaking now. And so I bought a bunch of fillies, and I bought them as yearlings, and we brought them on, and we've had this program where we've been breaking them and running them. We bring them in as 2 years olds. We put 30 to 90 days on them as 2 years old. We kick them back out to pastures. They get to go be horses for another, 6, 9 months, kind of clear their mind. And then we bring them back into 3 years old, ride them for another 30 days before Brandon. And guess what? They're roping and dragging as 3-year-olds. They have to get on. I mean, they got to go. They don't have the opportunity to have time off. And we do have a rotation where, so we don't get our horses tied up or winded. But we have a lot of driftwood influence here recently. Through driftwood was a big one through the Hash Knives, have a lot of driftwood. But we've got a lot of driftwood influence. We've got here recently some Frenchman's Guy. I actually bought some breedings from a horse called Lion Share of Fame out of Pride Farms out of Oklahoma. We're going to do that where I'm actually taking some horses to Dr. Mosier there at Desert Pines Equine in Las Vegas, and they're going to AI some horses for me, some mares there from this Lion Share of Fame. But Lion Share of Fame, I'm giving some shameless plugs to some people, but Lion Share of Fame is obviously a Dash to Fame stud and has some thoroughbred influence, and he's 16 hands tall. And if you look at him, he's got that really broad, deep, long chest. And long back, really good dark black feet. Obviously he was bred to be a running horse, but he was named in 2022 or 2023 as a Western Horseman. He was number 8 as a top roping stud in the United States. And so here you got a horse that is a big horse, has a lot of power, but he's still horse enough to be a good heel horse or a good head horse. Actually, probably head horse. He's as big as he is. But, and that's what we're trying to do, is just to get some really good horses that are ranching heritage, cover some ground, have good feet, and that we can, I started out doing this just to produce them for ourselves, but I really see now where there's an opportunity, because people are calling me saying, "Hey, I hear about what you're doing. What do you think about, can we get some of that later?" And so I see it as growing into a bigger deal, Scott.
Yeah, that actually was my next question. Is I can see the public wanting to get behind your horse program and wanting to support it and have a few on the ground at their ranches, and
Absolutely.
So is it open for public right now? Do y'all do any kind of take a couple of them to consign or anything like that for sale?
We have. We had never really put it, because we've been working so much on our own horses that we haven't been in a position where we've taken a lot. One of my day hands just actually left me. Unfortunately, Lance, you left me. But Lance was Lance's name is Lance Crawford, just a really good young man out of Wisconsin. He actually went to college with both of my boys up there at Frank Phillips College in Borger, just north of Amarillo. And came down, and he really worked well with our horse program and has started these horses. And I let him bring some horses in, and he would bring horses in and ride them on the ranch. And I mean, there is nothing better for a horse than wet saddle blankets, and especially these young horses, it's just time in saddle. And when you're riding 8 to 10 hours a day, and you've got the rabbits or the sage rats come jumping out at you, or you've got the jackrabbits running and the coyotes coming, and badgers are out there and snakes are out there, and our cows are a little rangy, so they might turn back on you a little bit too. And so having all of those kind of opportunities, crossing rivers, going up mesas, doing all that kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis, it makes for good horses. It really does. And honestly, you'll find out if you got a good horse or not fairly quick, because his feet will get sore, her feet will get sore. If it's not, it'll expose a lot of the abnormal
flaws.
The flaws in horses. So it gives you an opportunity to really understand what your horse is. So,
man, I love that.
No, we haven't taken a lot of horses in yet, but at some point in time, probably within the next couple of years, we will, sir.
I can see a public demand for them for sure, especially with the social media y'all have and everything you're doing with them, because you use them, and they're bred for that. You're putting together a special program. I know the names you're putting together, and they're special horses for sure.
Yes, sir.
So I can see that for sure. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the third segment. We're going to talk about Skyline events and some of the other things that is going on with you. And man, I could talk horses with you all day long. So I appreciate it, Jay, so much. And guys, we'll be right back after this quick break for the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you for listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Scott will be right back with more. For more information on Scott Knudsen, the Cowboy Entrepreneur, visit us online at cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today.
This is Positive Times, brought to you by American Hat Company, where true stories of optimism shine bright.
Welcome to Positive Times, proudly sponsored by American Hat Company, where we shine a light on stories of resilience and triumph. Today, we're captivated by Jay Holcomb, a man who faced adversity from birth, born without hip joints, but his spirit unbreakable. From biking 14 miles to high school football practice without a chain to serving with valor in Desert Storm, Jay's courage knows no bounds. Now he's a thriving entrepreneur, devoted family man, esteemed veteran. His journey reminds us with unwavering determination, unwavering courage. Every obstacle can be overcome. Jay is a living example of how determination, perseverance can turn a negative into a positive. Thank you, Jay, for sharing your story, and special thank you to American Hat Company.
This has been Positive Times, brought to you by American Hat Company, where true stories of optimism shine bright. Visit AmericanHat.net to discover our finest hats. Positive Times, because every moment deserves a story.
Hi, and welcome back to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. And please remember to hit the subscribe button, share this show with your friends, especially if they're in the Western industry. They're going to love it. Jay, thanks again for coming on the show. And let's talk another entrepreneur thing that you have going on, Sky9 Events. Can you talk a little bit about that and how people can find it?
Absolutely. Then go to sky9events.com. I really kind of fell into it by accident. I was at the dealership and I have a Ram dealership, Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. And so we obviously support the local rodeo, and a PRCA rodeo come into town. And one of the council members came into town, and he was, I'd done some voiceover stuff, some of his campaign radio ads and stuff for him. So we had a really good relationship. And his name was Joe Bocut. And he came into my office one day and he said, Jay, he said, do me a favor. We have this arena right downtown St. George, Utah, and it's very historic. And he's like, Jay, if we don't start using this arena, the city's going to make us tear us down. Will you make sure that you do something there? Put on a rodeo, do a roping. And I said, yes, sir. And I said, I will do something for you. He passed away that night. And so, yeah, I know. It was like, so I didn't even have an opportunity to be able to go back and renege or explain myself. So I thought, oh my gosh, I told this gentleman, Joe Bocut, that I'm going to put on a rodeo. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to live up to my word. So I started a rodeo. It was a spring roundup rodeo about 5 years ago. And I sponsored it myself from the dealership, lost my butt in it I still have, but started this. And then that one come in and everybody's like, man, these rodeos are really good. Why don't you do a rodeo here? And then, so we ended up having an opportunity. There was a little girl that passed away just about 45 minutes north of St. George in a little town called Cedar City. And she was in a ranching accident and got bucked off her horse, hit her head, was a catastrophic brain injury, just kind of the same situation with little Levi Wright this last week. So, which is heartbreaking. I love the Wrights. But anyway, so they asked me to do a memorial rodeo up there. And so I did that. And then the lady Marilyn Wood, who is the mother of Wendy Wood, the little girl that passed away, she happens to be the county commissioner. And she was like, hey, they never use this arena. Why don't you put on a rodeo over here? And so through just saying yes, again, going back to what we talked about in the first segment, just saying yes, there's an opportunity, and just if there's an opportunity, take it. And so I've had the opportunity to people just come to me. And then here recently, I had one of the casinos just south of here in Nevada in a little town called Mesquite, Nevada, where Eureka Casino. And they've come to me and said, hey, why don't we do a rodeo down here? And so it's just kind of developed. And then, through agtrucktrader.com, having a relationship with Eastern Corbin and kind of tying into some of the entertainment industries, you're like, oh, you know what? We can incorporate this and do it with the music and put on some concerts. And then you and I met at the Cowboy Channel doing the ag rally with Pat Driscoll for, Certified Ag Group. And so I got a chance to meet the late, Patrick Gotch and Tim Moen, who is the CEO. And they're like, hey, if you want to give us content, we'll give us content. So I don't know it to be true, but I think I'm the first non-PRCA rodeo that's actually been published on the Cowboy Channel Plus app.
Wow, man.
And so now we're broadcasting all these rodeos on the Cowboy Channel Plus app. They do have a contract with the PRCA, so I can't go with the Cowboy Channel proper. But on the Cowboy Channel Plus app, if you go on there right now, you can go watch the Spring Roundup Rodeo. You can go watch the Wendy Wood Memorial. You're going to watch the Old Spanish Trail Rodeo, which we're going to do here in another month or so. So it's been fun. And honestly, it's again, just saying yes. There's an opportunity. Somebody has to do it. And I say yes, and let's go. And it's turned into a really big company. And, my kids are on board. They're excited. They see the future of it. They understand we, again, putting technology behind it. Started with our website, getting Ticket Spice, being able to market to people digitally. There's just been a lot of benefit to it. So it's fun.
Man, I love it. That's something, my family, we've always just say yes, just like you do, just say yes. And I think that's so important for people to hear, once you say yes and start, it just starts happening, and that's a scary step, but it's awesome. But sky9events.com, they can find out everything you're doing. They go to Cowboy Channel, go there on the Plus app and
Yes, sir.
follow you. That's
Yes,
awesome,
sir.
man. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the Certified Ag Group, because that is where we met. We met at the Cowboy Channel and all the great stuff they're doing.
It really is. A gentleman named Pat Driscoll, who is the CEO that started Certified Ag Groups, really, I met him when they were affiliated with Ram, back when Fiat Corporate owned Ram and Jeep and the Chrysler Corporation.
Awesome.
I met him at a deal. And of course, me being big into agriculture, I kind of gravitated towards it. And so Pat said, "Hey, what are you doing at your dealership?" So what the Certified Ag dealers are the dealerships. And then we give the customer comes in and they purchase a vehicle from us, just like a certified pre-owned or any kind of certified vehicle. But not only are they getting a good vehicle and that they know that they can trust the dealership, but they also get $32,000 worth of benefit back to them from just buying from me. And that's like, please don't quote me on all this stuff, but it's like 15% charter you get off of, you get like $5 or $6 grand off of rebate back to you for your tires that you're going to buy tires. I buy so many tires for trailers and tractors every single month. Every time I turn around, we're blowing tires out on the ranch. And so to be able to have, $7 or $8 grand a year to give them back to me through Michelin on these tires is huge. And, Viasat, which is good signal on your Wi-Fi right here. There's a lot of different opportunities. You can go on there and look at your ag pack that you get from buying from a certified ag dealer. And then Pat took it one step farther and started agtrucktrader.com and really kind of innovated that niche market where ranchers and farmers and anyone in agriculture can go in there and look at vehicles and purchase a vehicle from a certified ag dealer. And just like, again, not to give everybody shameless plugs, but just like, Auto Trader or Cars.com or Car Gurus or some of these other third-party vendors, you can now go on one that is basically just catering to the agriculture community, and it's called agtrucktrader.com. So you get a good vehicle, you get to deal with good people, and you get $32,000 back in different products and stuff. Why would you not do it? It's a no-brainer.
It makes total sense. That's why we went up there, just to support what they're doing, because I love how the companies like Pat had the foresight, and Jay, I know you came in heavy with them and that's why you were up on stage, but to have the other companies supporting the industry just to help the rancher and the farmer out a little bit more, is a big deal. That's what it's all about.
I actually I'm actually the chairman of the board for their dealer advisory board. And so obviously I go and do the Cowboy Channel stuff with them and do the ag rally with them. And I sit on a lot of different meetings and stuff and have a big integral part with that. But one of my little claim to fames is like our new rodeo team that we put together with Leighton Berry as the captain.
Oh,
and
great.
We've got, a lot of different people in different, Jordan Jill Hollaball, just an absolutely amazing young lady who is doing big things in the podcast world, in the Loop podcast. She's doing a great job and she's on our team. So, having those
Clayton Sellers.
Clayton Sellers, just a good young man. I got a chance to sit down with him. He's actually married to Lefty Holman, and Lefty Holman, actually's dad owns the cattle or the Roundup, which is the video company that markets all my cattle off of my ranch. So it's like everything was just tied together. So
I love it, man. It's a small community, isn't it?
Very, very small community. You think of it, it's big, but it's small. That's why you don't badmouth anybody sitting at a rodeo, and you don't ever yell at the judges, because everybody around you is related to them.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah. Absolutely, they are. Well, what's next for you, Jay? You have so many different things going on, and how you multitask everything is just amazing. So what's next?
Realistically, we had actually just had a family meeting last Sunday, and I sat down with my children and my wife, and I said, what are we going to do? Because moving forward, because we would like to continue to grow our ranches. I see where our ranching and our business model with ranching is scalable. So where's our next ranch? We're going to buy another ranch. And then obviously we're going to focus on the events company. I see, people, especially in this down economy, and there's a lot of things that come at us day to day on the news. People want outlets where they want to know that things are fun and lively, and they want to see wholesome family entertainment. So providing rodeos and concerts and things, I think there's still a huge opportunity there.
I
Putting
do
some
too.
technology behind it, I think it's really going to be a big deal. Sheridan Taylor, love him, like him, hate him. I don't know what you think about him, but quite frankly, he's done an absolute amazing job with Yellowstone and all
Mhm.
of these different programs and being a big part of the NCHA. He's done a really good job bringing a lot of light to the Western sports industry and the Western world, just like Patrick Gotch with the Cowboy Channel. I mean,
Amazing.
these two guys are really, again, love or it's none of my business what your opinions on them are, but they're icons, and they've done a really good job bringing a lot of light to the Western way of life and the Western sports industry.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's what I always am appreciative of is that foresight, the vision to do that. Kind of like what you're doing with the ranch and the horses and the cows. Same thing is just getting ahead of it. So it
Yes, sir.
lets other people see what we get to live every day.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they can become a part of it. Even now with technology, they can still be a part of it and live in a city. They
Yeah.
don't have to go buy that big ranch. They can run a John Deere tractor or help out from a metro area, which is really cool.
And given an opportunity, I've gotten a lot of feedback just off of our social media channel, and we've really not done a lot with it as much as we should be. But having, different drone video of us working cattle in the back pens and doing different things, it's amazing. We've got videos on my social media that have gotten almost 1 million likes or 1 million views of people watching rope cattle and do stuff. So those people, like you just said, that, maybe there's a disability, maybe they don't have the economic status or whatever, but they can sit in their house and really be a part of your ranch and be a part of what you're doing and feel like, there's some buy-in in there. That's what
Right.
it's all about. It's connecting with those people. Yeah.
Right. Right. No, I love it. I love it so much. And hang on one second. Steve, I think your mute's not on. Hang on, let me text him. No, it is. All right. We'll just start back right now. Yeah, I know it wasn't recording, but we could hear. Okay. I got 2 more things. Let's jump into, is there anything we didn't hit? You want to talk more about the dealerships? Because we still
Sure.
have like 3 or 4 minutes. We can go
Yeah,
back to the
absolutely.
dealership.
So
Okay.
I started out. I came here. Actually got recruited. I started in the car business there in Texas in Vandergrift Chevrolet, right outside in Arlington, Texas. Went from salesperson to general manager there. Ran some dealerships. Got recruited to go out west to Oregon and run some dealerships for another company out there. And that was in '08. Didn't last very long. Didn't work real well. And so actually went back and was a dealership in Albuquerque, New Mexico and then I started my own consulting company and did a lot with software.
Mhm.
And then I got recruited by Stephen Wade. Stephen Wade is the dealer principal. We have 13 brands here in Southern Utah. He also owns a Toyota store up in Salt Lake, and I think 2 Toyota stores now. They're putting another one. But I run 3 stores for them, the general manager. So I'm the general manager of the Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram store. And then I'm the general manager of an independent truck store. And then I'm also the executive manager of a Nissan dealership. So, the car business has been really, really good. I enjoy it. It's given me an opportunity to be able to do the other things that I like because, what does I say? The best way to make $1 million in the ranching business is start with about 10 million. And so,
Absolutely.
you're really paying for a way of life, and then when people sit there and they eat that beef and they think, my gosh, $5 a pound for ground beef, that's expensive. Well, see what work goes into it. So,
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
anyway, it's the car business has been a blessing to me. I come out of the Army. I went to school to be a civil engineer there at University of Texas in Arlington. I actually did not finish my degree. I was a single dad. I was raising 2 boys by myself. Met my wife at the Cleburne HEB, and she had a daughter already. Our first date was at the Ponchos there in Burleson, Texas.
That's good living, man.
Yeah, it's good living. So I forever will love HEB. But so our first date, we had 3 children because I had sole custody of my 2 boys and she had custody of her daughter. And then we had 4 boys together. And so, it gave me an opportunity. The car business has been really, really good to us and give me an opportunity to do the other things that I love to do in my life.
Man, I love it, man. I really do. I appreciate you being on the show. So if you can give us
Pleasure.
one more words of wisdom, as far as just, I know time is going quick. How do you go doing so many different things? And, people's lives are so busy and chaotic. How do you time manage so well and to be so successful? What can you tell somebody?
I always look here it is Sunday afternoon on 12:45 to, 1:45. There's always time. There's always time to give.
Mm-hmm.
And, going back to that 5 a.m. club, that book, a lot of the time I studied like Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant said that he would get up at 2 or 3 in the morning and work out, and he would get an extra 2 workouts a day than other people didn't get in, just because he would get up early and put in that sacrifice. We talked about it in the first segment. I'll sleep when I die. And so it's not really time management. I'm probably not the best at time management. My deal is I don't mind working. I don't mind getting up at 5 or 4 in the morning and going from can to can't. And, there's always those times that I sit down and I think, you know what, I'm relaxing, I'm resting. And then you're like, what else could I have been doing? And so there's always opportunity to allocate some time towards something if it's important to you.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's a great way to end the show. And I'm sorry we got to end it, man. I could talk horses and cattle with you all day long, but I appreciate your service and joining up at 17 and all the different businesses and the jobs and the memories you've created already, and there's still so much more to go. So thank you for being on the show.
You bet. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. It's awful fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for watching the show. And please remember to share it, like it, subscribe. And please follow Jay Holcomb on all social media and follow sky9events.com to see what events coming up and might be near you. Thank you for watching the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you to all the great sponsors of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. If you or your business is interested in being a sponsor of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, please call our office at 830-992-1786 or visit our website, cowboyentrepreneur.com.